Hello and welcome to the Event Tech Pull-Up. My name is Tess Fismail and my partner in crime, everyone says, is...
Keith Johnston with i3 Events.
It's never getting better. It's never getting better.
I can't introduce myself like that. I can't do a big over-the-top thing. I've just never been an over-the-top guy.
Okay, guys, our listeners and viewers, what we're going to do is going to let him intro the next time, right? The next one, we're going to let him do it, and I'm just going to sit here and let him introduce the entire show. Not a problem.
You know how boring that's going to be?
We'll let them decide. Hopefully they'll put some comments in and then let us decide. We are very
Hi,
happy.
everybody. Welcome to the what are we?
Event Tech Pull Up. And not like a diaper, Keith.
What am I, a huggy?
Oh my God. Oh my
Depends.
goodness.
Wait, am I a huggy? No, it depends.
Oh no, this is gonna be great. Oh my goodness. So boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, and seniors. We're so happy to have you here. We are amazed at the growth of the show and how it's been flowing and going. And we really appreciate all the comments that you've been sending and people who've been able to share it with their tribes and their networks. And please continue to do so because we really love developing this content for you on a regular basis. Keith, isn't that right?
Well, yeah, it gives me something to do.
Exactly. And on to the news of the day in Event Tech Central. Well, they're pulling up with us to listen to the news, Keith. Can you believe that?
I know, right? But we got cool news today anyway. And the first thing that we're going to talk about is...
It's from my favorite platform in the entire world.
Which is now back to... But now it's back to being my favorite platform. And
you should have never left us.
I didn't really leave. I just stopped participating as much.
I'm just saying, we're always tried and true.
And what platform is it, Tess?
Twitter. It's Twitter.
Yes, and so Twitter has finally jumped on the bandwagon and done something similar to stories. Those wonderful disappearing things that you can post, and then after a certain amount of time, they're gone. They're now called fleets. I would guess that that's because they're fleeting. But
they're tweets that fleet.
With feet, they beat it after a while. But the one cool thing that I think that I really like about what Twitter's done is you can include links and such in them. So for events and conferences, think of what you can do with the disappearing tweet. Your early bird, right? If you want to get people in and watch for the tweet, it's only going to last 24 hours. Boom,
get it in.
Can do it.
Here's your link, and this is how you can do it.
Yeah, and then some of the actual event-related stuff, like while you're at a conference, right? You can put things out there that you know are going to go away. Yes, at the conference you want to have tweets that will stay there forever and be a part of history, but there's some stuff that's like really, don't forget this session starts in an hour, right? That doesn't really need to be in your timeline forever. So this is a great way to have those just kind of disappear. And
you can do text over videos and not just pictures.
Yeah.
See, just saying, Keith, my platform, when we innovate the right way. Just saying. And it might take a minute, but we're going to do it.
Well,
best platform known to man.
Well, and here's the thing, right? There is something to be said for letting everyone rush out the door and do what they're going to do, because then you can watch them all get hit by cars, and then you know how to cross the street correctly. I don't know where that analogy came from.
Okay. But for events, I mean, we've talked about forever, there is no better platform for live face-to-face events. And that is, you have to use Twitter because it is the essence, it's the breadth of which it makes the conversations move. It's pushed every aspect of content to a different level because things move swiftly and fast there.
Yeah. So, but I have a question, and
Yes,
I'm gonna pose
sir.
it to you.
Yeah.
Do we think that Twitter is going to have a problem with growth, right? Bringing in new users only because of basically the political aspect of it, and I'm not even going to mention that name. Like a lot of people who aren't on Twitter avoid Twitter because it just, if you watch on the news or whatever, it sounds like Twitter is a cesspool of hell, right? When it really isn't. You know, just depends on who you follow, but you know, is that going to stunt its growth with new users?
No, I don't think so. Matter
No?
of fact, I think this would give. I'm so glad you mentioned that. I think with the pandemic that we have, we actually have two pandemics now. One we've had for centuries, but another one just came upon us.
Like
And
500 years.
just it's probably more than that, but yeah. So with people realizing how we're inside, sheltering in place, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't have the same accesses that we normally did before. Social and everything that's coming from a digital perspective is how we're consuming everything. I think more people who have now focused to this square here, if you will, sometimes rectangular, but square, realize that they're getting fast information on a regular basis. They can judge whether things are accurate or not, right? But they're getting informed in that platform because these pandemics have pushed people to have to use these outlets well. And they are seeing the differences, I think, more between a Twitter, a Facebook, YouTube, the whole nine. And you know, we've educated that there are differences and they're not all the same. You go to them for different reasons, but I think this is forcing people. And it's like time and the events have pushed people to realize, oh yeah, I do realize more people are on. It's almost like when we talked about Twitch on our first episode. I think it was our
Right.
first or second episode, and how Twitch, is it a fad? Is it something that,
Right.
or TikTok, if you will, a fad, you know, that people are just going through temporarily, and then when our new normal comes back and settles a different way, are they going to stay there or get off of it, right? No, Twitter is standing the test of time. I mean,
True. Well, and when it comes to, you know, the protests, it's one of the best ways to get news, right? And you've got to have your BS meter on, right? Whenever you look at any social platform to have that BS meter going, but
or any person or anything,
right. So, but as you know, I'm watching, let's say CNN, and they keep flipping between, you know, this is what's going on in Washington and Seattle and LA and Chicago, but Chicago, they're only hitting on every 20 minutes or 30 minutes or so. So I'm getting very small news from my town on CNN. On Twitter, I can go and I can literally watch people that are down there that are either broadcasting video live or pictures. And if you are a halfway intelligent human being, right, you can see the stuff that you shouldn't pay any attention to, right? I look at it and go, oh, that's not correct, right? And I can move on and I can make a snap judgment on, you know, what is quality and what isn't. And I think what a lot of people don't understand about Twitter is, you know, I have a friend that's in news broadcasting, she on radio. But she's on Twitter, right? So that stuff that it doesn't make the cut, or because they only have 20 seconds to deliver their story on Twitter, you can actually from reputable news sources, you can continue to get the rest of the story, which I think is absolutely fantastic.
Within seconds, Keith.
Yes.
Within seconds. I've told people it's within seconds. You will see and hear what's going on, and you can make informed decisions.
The second I see anything on the TV or whatever that says breaking news, the first app I open is Twitter.
Yeah, because it's already broken.
Yep.
It really truly is. And it's, you know, it's about curating the content after that, not necessarily breaking a story per se. So it's really different. So what's our next thing? Yes, everyone knows I've spent 100 years on Twitter. I mean, I can, my account open. I need to look at what my date is. I think it was April of 2009.
Yeah, you're right around the same. We're right around the same time.
You go and do the next
Oh, okay.
And I will
So,
look at my date.
so the next one we're going to talk about is WhatsApp. And WhatsApp had a little bit of a problem with security in that people's phone numbers were actually showing up in Google search. Now, don't panic. WhatsApp has fixed that problem. But if a company like Facebook, by the way, Facebook owns WhatsApp, can have a security issue where they don't realize that phone numbers are bleeding out on Google search, you might want to look at your own data. And a really, really good way to do this is to go to Google, type in the acronym for your event, like the XYZ 039 2020 attendee list. Just put that into Google and see what pops up. Because what happens a lot of times is people don't realize that they're sharing things like Excel spreadsheets and it is so easy for your attendee data to leak in ways that you don't expect.
Yeah, exactly. And it can scare people half to death, right?
Oh, yeah.
It feels like they have this. But again, we've had a cybersecurity expert on here. We've had a congressperson who leads committees on cybersecurity. And it's still the same. No one's perfect, right?
No.
You can't lock everything down. Again, we're trying to educate our audience to realize it's okay if there's a mistake, just fix it and just be more conscientious about the things you do and how you do them differently.
Yeah. Well, and and one of the biggest problems in the conference industry or trade show or whatever, live events industry are poachers, right? Those people that come and they poach your exhibitors to book hotel rooms, and they misrepresent themselves as being a part of your event. It's a huge problem. I mean, even small events that we do are now having a problem with poachers. Mm-hmm. The question is, where do you think the poachers are getting their information for your event? Exactly. A lot of times they're searching Google and finding these spreadsheets, and they literally give them all the data. It's got the name, it's got the contact, and it's got their phone number.
It's got everything.
Yeah.
Definitely. So look through some sources in which you can, how can some cloud-based sources where you can share folders versus sending in an email be helpful to you? Yeah. Yes. How can you stop sending attachments? There are ways in which you can do that. And Keith and I have surprises for you in another episode about some ways in which you can learn how to do some things soon.
We do.
Yeah, we do.
Because we plot and we plan, Tess.
We do. We can't tell them now, Keith. We got to get to the next news segment. What else is up there? So you have Twitter. It's my favorite app. WhatsApp, of course, is my favorite app too. What's next?
You got a lot of favorites there.
I know. You're just shooting them all down today.
The next one is actually one of my favorite companies in the world. Believe it or not, is Google.
It is.
And what are they calling it this week? That's my biggest problem with Google is they shift names every 4 days. So the old Google Hangouts, which is now Google Meet, which is whatever. But when you're in a video call with Google now, they've added background noise canceling. It's really cool. And the cool thing is it works. So if you are in a coffee shop, for example, or if you are maybe you're at a live event and it's in the background and you have to do a video call. You can actually do this now in Google Meet, and it takes out keyboard clicks and pen clicks and background noise and all that stuff to make you sound better for online meetings. Yeah, which I thought was really cool. Which means if Google worked on this it's AI that does it.
Yeah.
They are using their own internal meetings to teach the AI. Mm-hmm. They will not be using your meetings to teach the AI. But the cool thing is, I think now that Google has it and it's out there, I think other companies are going to be thinking about that now. Mm-hmm. So I think that the Zooms of the world and the Microsoft Teams and XYZ, they'll all start working on how to reduce background noise. I think Microsoft already does a pretty good job with it. But I think that only benefits everybody.
Yes, I totally agree. Matter of fact, I signed up for a couple of the conferences, the AI conferences that Google had in reference to, voice activation and some other things. So yeah, there's some really good geeky stuff that's going to come out for the consumer soon. Because, when we were looking for equipment, people were saying, what equipment should we get? I've always, for the longest, tried to get Keith and my team know this. Oh my gosh, how many headphones I've gone through, Lord, because because I'm always.
And we were talking about it like 20 minutes ago.
Sorry, that's the funniest thing. Is because I wanted to get something that actually cancels out background noise for the other person, not so much me, meaning I'm, right? I'm talking about when I'm talking to you, you can hear everything around me. And there's not many headsets that will do that without you actually plugging in. Wireless is harder to do that from an audio standpoint. People don't or have not realized that. So this is good to see that they're putting it in actually the tech that's delivering the service.
I still got my crappy $20 Sony headphones.
Yeah, and awesome. I got my not so inexpensive AI headphones that are built for DJs, actually. So I get to hear.
And what did I say earlier? In-ear monitors where they push the wax?
Yes, I said, get the kind to push the wax in. I was like, push the wax in.
Your earwax? I'm like, no, like form-fitting wax.
Right, exactly. Now that is really futuristic. Right.
There you go.
So Keith, let's wrap up the news segment. Those are great things. And actually those are three of my favorite, two of my favorite companies and one of my favorite apps. So really excited to hear that. And tech is not perfect. We're always saying tech is not perfect.
Nothing's perfect. What was that line from The Breakfast Club? The world is an imperfect place.
Yes.
Screws fall out.
Gosh, you took me back, Keith. I love The Breakfast Club.
I know, right?
That was a good one.
Hey, my son's 14. We watched The Breakfast Club a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, good. See, making good use of that sheltering in place time. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we are getting ready for our next guests, Zita and Lori from regmatch. Really excited to have them.
It's going to be very cool.
Welcome back. We are excited to bring up two lovely ladies who mean so much to me in the event technology world. Keith is excited, I'm as excited, and I'm sure our audience is saying, gosh, could they get any more excited? Every week they say the same words. But we really do have joy around the things that we do, and most importantly, the people that make our industry what it is around event technology. So I will tell you a little bit about a company. It is called regmatch, and regmatch does badge creation, and they are designed as a foundation for almost 7 decades of combined experience these ladies and their team have within the meetings and events industry. And what they say in a slogan that I love the most is it is pretty much designed by meeting professionals for meeting professionals. So it's a totally different take when it comes to event tech that we are experiencing, because oftentimes with the big boys, they are business-minded people who may be developers for developing products and enter our industry, become large conglomerates, from mergers and takeovers, or they're the smaller groups who, startups are doing this. But in this case, we have two women who are like us, meeting professionals, who designed a product and said, you know what, that's not working for me. I think it needs to be done a little bit differently. And I want to welcome them to the show. So our co-founders are Zita Steglich-Ross and Lori Burke, who are both CMPs like myself. And they developed their expertise, I'll tell you just a little bit about them, from their heels on the ground experience. Starting from the ground up, both roles to meeting and convention planning executive roles for their industries, including hospitality, government, association, transportation, healthcare technology, and destination marketing. This dynamic group embraced their entrepreneurial spirits after successful careers in creating, Zita has her own website. It's called Steglich-Ross, which is a boutique full-service destination event planning and marketing company located in Orlando. Nice and hot down there, and I'm in Atlanta. And then Lori, Miss Burke, she has LLB Enterprises, which in February 1999 was offering conference support and trade show management. So long histories, and combined, I know they have a plethora of experience in the industry. So let me tell you a little bit more about the two of them in terms of their experiences. So Zita was on the advisory board of the University of Central Florida's Hospitality and Tourism, and has previously served as board member of the African American Chamber of Commerce of Central Florida, which is great, exciting. I come from academia as well, and the Central Florida Urban League, and working with Florida's Hall of Fame, Highwaymen Artists, Inc. And as an advocate for small business development, she's the editor of Diverse City Orlando, a multicultural guide for Orlando, which provides exposure for African American, Hispanic, and Asian small businesses to visitors in the Orlando community. So there's diversity in her pedigree as well. And then Lori, who is dear to my heart, of course, is a member of the Professional Conference and Management Association, as we know, PCMA, board member of the National Coalition of Meeting Professionals. And she also mentors first-time members and lends her services to her church, Alfred Street Baptist Church in Old Town, Alexandria. So she was in the DMV area and moved to Florida. So we understand how that move goes. So Lori and Zita, thank you for being here. Keith, did I miss anything with that intro?
No, no, actually, you didn't miss anything. But it is going to lead right into my first question, and it's one that it's well. Welcome, ladies. I should start with that. But meeting and event technology is my favorite thing in the whole world. And my biggest complaint about meeting and event technology is that typically it is not created by people who can't come from the meeting and event industry, right? So, and there's one company that I'm thinking of in particular that's located out west, that it was a bunch of people who had no experience at all in the meetings and events industry, but they had a great idea, and so they've created this product. But it doesn't work the way a meeting planner would want it to work, right? It works how they think it should work, and the flip side on that is they also then don't listen to when they get some feedback. So knowing that the both of you have a background in meetings and events, it's thrilling to me. It would be exciting to me to learn, how did you guys come up with regmatch? Where did that come from? Because you guys have the background, and I've used your product before, so it works well. So tell us a little bit about how you guys came up with the idea and how you created it.
So I'd like to start by sharing that Lori and I have been friends for over 25 years. I don't want to add too many.
I love it. I love it. I do the same thing. I'm like, no, it's more than.
Yeah. It feels like it's been, our entire lives, because we are good friends. We get along well. We work. Our work ethic is very similar, and she's been a meeting planner for a very long time, and actually a very good meeting planner. And I've subcontracted for her. I've assisted her with many of her meetings around the country, all over the country actually. And it was a great, I loved it. But when working with her and we started just talking through on some of the challenges that her clients were facing, and that's how the conversation started. And she said, Zita, I really want this to make this happen. And these are some of the challenges that I see with her expertise, because I was really a contractor at the time. And so she had more experience and knowledge on what, the complaints or the obstacles that her customers were facing. So we sat down and we talked about it and molded over, and that's how it started, just to actually 3 gals sitting together and, putting our heads together and figuring out, how do we make this work? And I think that's really how it all started a couple of years ago.
Wonderful. So when we're thinking about the win, what was the impetus? What was that last straw, Lori, that said, I've been thinking about it, but what sparked that match to say, now? And when was it?
I've had the thought for quite some time, going through meeting planning for agencies, from government to association to corporate, and everyone wanted different things. The requirements were different. They pricing structure was different, and they liked the bells and whistles that the big boys are putting up, but really couldn't afford it. So about a couple years ago, we started, I started thinking about, can we do this? So I was talking to Zita, and I said, this is what I see. We need something that's easy, that is affordable, and we can build on it at our leisure or as the industry commands. So I think it was just, I was moving to the Orlando area and decided, well, we're going to be close together and it'd be easy to start building this portal because we're going to almost be neighbors, 40 minutes apart, but we're still neighbors. And so like Zita said, we said, okay, we're going to do it. I said, okay, development. So we got our developer and we just started doing a brain dump on, what's out there, but what needs to be done and how can it be done differently. And that's how we started out.
And I actually I have a follow-up to that, because so here we go down some rabbit holes, because sometimes I don't think meeting and event planners, because we build a lot of because I do third-party planning as well, and we build a lot of the websites that for events, and how long did it take to develop it? Because I think that's one of the things that planners sometimes don't understand is the period of time that development actually takes time, right? So how long did it take to go from, let's say, the day you started development until you actually had a product? Because, with a lot of things, I just don't think that sometimes, I have a feeling I know what the number you're going to say is, but I think it would be important for planners to know the type of work that goes into these things, that it isn't easy.
Well,
I know. See, the pause tells it all, right?
Yeah,
the pause tells it all.
It's because I'm hesitating because it's ongoing, and so the product is never finished. So I would say to get the core piece done, it was longer than 6 months. It was probably about 8 months to get the project to a place where we can show it and have people play around in it. But like I said, it's an ongoing thing because new technology, new ideas come about, and we have another phase. We are working on some improvements now. So that's why we're always talking to each other. We're always talking to our developer, and we're setting up schedules on little things, these little things that will make the experience even more enjoyable.
Yeah, and
so was I right on the time frame? Was that the same?
Well, you know what? Mine was 1 year. So yes, very, very close.
Yeah.
And these two, and I love the fact that you said it's not really finished, right? It's always done. It should always be improving. I mean, I think that's another, another big problem with technology is so many platforms get to a point and then they stop, right? And then it's 2 years before they roll out updates, where you guys always seem to be doing a little bit at a time so that it's always getting better. Every time you go back, there might be something a little bit different. Mm-hmm. And I know one of the questions that we have is, what else do you guys do? But why don't you tell us a little bit about regmatch and tell us about the platform?
Yeah, what does it do? Like, how does it do? And I would be interested to know from each one of you, like, as you're talking, Zita, I want Lori to say, yep, that was a pain point. That was a major pain point. And I used to get on, because, I mean, we're all planners, right? We know, we're talking to each other right now. Our audiences are us and some suppliers too. And we need to talk about that stuff. The rubber meets the road right here. This is not about the flossy stuff. This is like, that data didn't come in right. Or, what is it, Zita?
That
Yeah, that
So, Lori had mentioned earlier, we wanted to keep it as simple as humanly possible. And coming from a marketing background, I also know that you can't have too many clicks. If you have more than 3 clicks, then you lose people. So we combine.
I say that all the time.
So when you combine, those ideas, sitting down with our developer, he understood, and that's one thing that we love about him. He teaches, and so he understands things pretty easily when people that speak non-tech language, and he can convert it into, you know, his technology, you know, way of thinking. So making it as simple as possible was, I would say, our first pain to overcome, to make sure that that stayed in place. And I don't know if Lori will agree with me on this one, but I think that the cost was also something that we needed to overcome. You know, you know, she has encountered with working with her customers on just so many different types of pricing points or price points. And we wanted to keep it very transparent and easy, simple. Just click on this. If you want these services, you click on box A. If you want extended services, you click on box B. And then soon, I would say around the 4th of July, so I'm giving you all a heads up, you will see a third box. And that third box will be our app, which is under development. It's in the testing phase. And so you'll be able to add your app to these conferences. So it's very simple. The pricing's there. It's outlined so that people understand what they're getting for the price, the different price points. And, you know, so there's very little questions. You want to alleviate as many questions as possible. So there isn't any hiccups with going back and forth and delays with making decisions. You want to make sure that you're answering as many questions up front as possible, and then people can see it, you know, so that's the transparent part. And then with the system being as easily as used as possible or just seamless, then, you know, it's just a couple of clicks just to add and you know, just add your information, add your graphics, and you're pretty much done. I mean, you can't get any simpler than that unless it's telepathic.
Someday, not yet.
Someday.
So you mentioned a little bit about like additional resources, the app coming up. Tell us a little bit about what that means. So we said it's a registration system, right? We know most people know what a registration system is, right? But at least tell us highlights on a little bit, because, you know, when our audience listens, they're not going to be able to see it. Of course, on the show, when we do our push to our Facebook page, they'll be able to see it. We'll have some screenshots and things like that. But just kind of walk us through just a little high level on what it looks like. We've got a landing page. We know we need to have it. What's exciting about it?
Okay. So, you know, one of the things, from the very beginning, we have, you know, when you add your graphic, you understand that, you know, every meeting planner has a graphic to announce her event or his event. And it has a particular feel, look, and color. Well, once you add your graphic to this system, which is just a click, add, and save, that's it. That graphic takes on the background of your overall website. So you maintain the look and the feel throughout the you know, your pages. And you have multiple pages. So for instance, you have your landing page, as you had mentioned. Then you also have your actual registration page, where you have information that you collect data from your attendees. You also have information about the hotel or the venue that you're utilizing. You can add on additional pages, such as general information if you wanted to add tours, or if you want to add information about transportation to and from the airport, anything that's pertinent to your event. So you have these pages, and they all will look in sync because of the colors that are pulled from your graphic that you initially use.
So are you seeing more now that we're all having to produce virtual events, right? What have you seen, or how has the product shifted, or did the product even have to shift when we have been forced to move on in this digital space?
That's a very good question. So we knew this early on through our beta testing, but we wanted to make sure we got through a time period where we had enough testers and users. But one of the most important things that we've learned has to do with the registration page. So we have what we learned is that we need multiple registration types and pages, not just one basic where you would add in, let's say, let's say you have a meeting planner and you have a supplier, and that is easily added. Those are two different types of registrations. Now where you'll be able to, or pretty soon you'll be able to have dedicated pages for a meeting planner, and so you have details that are just specific for meeting planners, and they'll be able to see that. And then you can have a separate page for suppliers, and then it can be for exhibitors, and it can grow to additional levels or types. So we only had one registration type page, which you can add all of the information in there, but what we realized is that we wanted separate information for each of these when the customer needed it. They may not everyone may need it, but we found that was an important thing. And so we're customizing, and we should have that done by the first week of July when we launch our app, right?
Yeah,
Lori?
that's correct.
Yeah.
And don't forget to mention about the matchmaking component.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah, I've been waiting for that part. I mean, I'm just saying.
It's just more than just registration. We have a matchmaking component, which is a registration process for like maybe exhibitors want to meet with meeting planners in an exhibit hall. So we have all those informations, and we can merge them, and they can meet with who they want to meet with. We also have what we call badge creator, which will definitely print all the badges that the meeting planner want. You can put the graphic at the bottom. You can set them up for all different sizes. I think we have about eight different sizes, Zita, of badges, and you put the information in and you click and it automatically populates.
Yeah.
So
you said that that the exhibitors can network and match, because of course this is the match part of regmatch. But
yes.
What about attendees? Are they able to go in there and talk to each other? Or is it just exhibitors to be able to be matched accordingly that way? So tell me how it works.
Oh, I see. Is it attendee to attendee, or is it just exhibitor to attendee? Oh, that's a good question. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, it's an exhibitor to an attendee.
Perfect. So we're seeing more. Go ahead, Zita.
It's a business-to-business opportunity to network.
Perfect.
So you schedule appointments.
Yes.
Well,
yes. And go ahead.
What a selling point, though. So let's say that I have my, I want to bring exhibitors in. Okay, great. They have their lead retrieval or whatever. Everybody does that. Right. But when you can actually add the matchmaking component on top of it, and set the appointments, I mean, that I think to an exhibitor, that makes your event or your conference, it just takes it to a new level on how much value it provides to the sponsors and the exhibitors, right? And I have one client that has, their event has, let's say, 50 exhibitors. Then on top of that, they have 20 sponsors, right? And then the sponsors themselves don't really have a booth, but using this, they could actually set appointments. Because for all those sponsors, they actually get their own private meeting room. Well, then they, the way that it currently is, they have to go out and they have to find the attendees and make those appointments. Whereas this could actually do it for them, which I think that's a huge thing.
It's value.
And see, that's huge. I mean, literally, we have the ability of being flexible, because when I've seen the product and been able to work with it, it seems so simple and easy, just like you talked about. But what I'm observing is no matter what I'm currently using, I can still use you, right? I don't have to be locked into, even if I'm locked into other contracts, I can still utilize your services, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, correct. That's correct.
That's a good thing. It's a good thing. So I'm gonna turn the conversation over to something that's present day, if you all ladies don't mind, as we're wrapping up a little bit. The thing that's going on today, as we know, is a very, very trying times and emotional times in our world, and as well as in our industry. And what has happened is unfortunate, but I am a firm believer that things cannot change unless there are negative and positive energies that are working, right? And then those seemingly negative energies can turn to positive situations. So tell me what you think as a landscape, as two Black women who have decided to forge the way in event technology, which I have never seen. I have not seen any event technology led by Black women can do moving forward to help educate our industry and push for maybe initiatives or things of that nature that we can help empower the rest of the industry from a technology's perspective. Because what you're doing, you took the first step, right? But what do you think the next step can be?
Well, I'm hoping that we'll be able to share our experience with building, because so many people don't know what it takes to create and build a platform like this. I'm hoping that we'll be able to share our experience with other individuals in an African-American community. And also, hopefully they'll be able to participate in some of the ventures that we are spearheading in the future. We have dreams and aspirations to grow this company, and we believe in bringing people along with us. So that is my heart, and what I'm hoping that we'll see happen in the future. This is a very difficult time, and I think education is paramount in all aspects. And how we can share our tool to help that along, I think we'll be doing our little part as well.
Okay, Lori, did you want to add anything?
I think from my background mentoring the youth, and from what we're seeing, the youth is the cornerstone of what's happening now. They are out there participating. They have the "we won't quit" attitude until we get what we want. And I think if we can reach out to the youth and to, like Zita said, to show our experience and teach them and be there to support them on if they, on what they need to continue to move it forward. But I think that, I've been in this business close to 40 years. So, it's time, I think, to start shifting back to the youth and educating them and showing them the way so they can continue their mantra on what they're doing today.
Absolutely, definitely. Keith, what any closing remarks that we could say for the ladies? I'm really happy that they're here. We are always on the impetus of what is new and exciting with technology, and also what is new and exciting with event technology. And as a company like regmatch, they can do so much right now, right? To be able to not only educate on the simplicity of the product, right? To educate on what the event technology space should be, and craft those messages, right? And then also hopefully train others in the youth to come along and say, these are opportunities. You can have jobs here. You can do this. Our industry as a whole, but then also within event technology, not just technology.
Right.
Well, and I just have, I think 3 points. Number one is after the app debuts, please come back, because I'm actually very excited to learn about that. The second thing is, I think, I hope enough people listen to this program, because I want planners to understand that there are more options out there than they think, that they do have options. And then from, a current event standpoint, what I hope to see is that someone watches this program and it opens up the door to senior executive positions and the boardroom for some of the youth that you talk about, right? Especially, whether it's, African-American women who are very underrepresented in both of those places, just, having a look at this product, there needs to be more people in those locations. And so I hope that this is one of the things where a light bulb might go off.
Yeah, Definitely. I think that's wonderful. Ladies, I am elated, of course, to have you here. It's definitely timely for you to be here. The product that you have, to me, should be shared with the world. People need to know who you are and see your faces and know what you're doing so that they're no longer, especially in our industry, to say, well, I couldn't find them. I don't know. They don't exist. No. Yes. We all exist. We all have talents and gifts that we can give back. So on behalf of myself and Keith at the Event Tech Pull Up, thank you so much for being here.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
It's been great.